talk to you tomorrow
Hey, with all this stuff going on, Sammy, I'm telling you right now, it's worrisome. It's very worrisome. And I'm, I've already done pretty much so. Me and you, we pretty much so done lived our lives. You're what, 65? I'm 61.
Yeah.
If I was to die today or tomorrow or within the next 24 hours or whatever, I couldn't complain. I've had a good life. I've been to places. I've done things. I've experienced a lot of experiences. I couldn't complain if I was to die right now. But how about all the younger people? What are they going to have to face?
You know what? It was two of the guys I went to school, graduating high school with, was in this office here one day, just like one was buying something, the other just come to see me. It said something about one of our coal passed away or something like that. And I said, well, fellas, if I was to just fall over right here in front of y'all, about day after tomorrow, y'all have a little sad funeral, put me in a hole in the ground, kick a little dirt on me, because I've had it better than most. You just take the people around this world that's suffering like hell.
Oh, my God.
Hey, when I worked at Goodyear, there were two different guys, and I knew them. They come to me, and they called me Freddie at work. They said, Freddie, you ever been hungry? And I knew right quick what they was talking about. I said, fellas, I want to tell you something. My mom and my daddy both worked. My grandmama helped raise me. The training table and the feed line was good. And I've been where I could eat a meal, but the kind of hunger I know what you're trying to ask me. And no, I've never been hungry like that.
Well, I've starved myself going on fasting for the Lord, trying to become more spiritual. I've went as far as I guess the highest that I've ever went is 2 weeks. But that was drinking a lot of water, a lot of liquids.
I started to say you didn't get off the water.
No, that was drinking a lot of water, a lot of liquids, and also some Kool-Aid flavoring, stuff like that. But I'm gonna tell you, whenever that old belly goes to growling and it goes to rolling up in a knot, and you start getting weak because you don't have enough vitamins in you, yeah, it's tough getting hungry. It's tough. It's tough.
After a couple, 3 days though, did you kind of get over that growling belly and all?
It levels out. It does. It levels out, and that's whenever you actually get into the purification of the fast. You got to go for about 72 hours of fasting before you start purifying your system, and that's exactly what it does. Whenever you do that fast, it gets all those parasites and all the poisons and stuff out of your system. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to do. And I wish I could do it today like I used to do it 35 years ago. But you got to have your mind in it. And if your mind ain't in it, you'll never be able to whip it physically. You got to whip it mentally before you can whip it physically.
Hell, that time I had a colonoscopy run on me. I didn't even want to.
But we was raised poor. We didn't have a bathroom down there in Hop In. We took showers outside. We had to go to the outhouse to be able to use the bathroom. We had a slop pot in the wintertime. We worked. We didn't know nothing but work, and that's all we done was work. And because of it, we really didn't have a whole lot of time to get into nothing else other than work. We worked whenever we was teenagers. I mean, we had farming, we had pigs, we had cows, we had row crops. Dad would plant 1,000 slips of tomato slips. He would plant 2 acres of okra. He'd plant
tomatoes or sweet potatoes.
Tomatoes, really? 1,000 slips, yes. And
gosh damn, when they started coming up.
Oh Lord God, hey, we helped to make that man down the road here rich.
I know trucking outfit.
Yes, sir.
I know.
Is it Vincent? That's the name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Vincent Job.
We helped to make that man rich because, a 5/8 bushel basket of okra today would probably bring $60 a bushel.
Every bit of it, maybe more.
Or maybe more. At the time whenever we was picking it, we was lucky if we got $3 and $4 or $5 a freaking bushel. $6 at the very, very most was the top dollar we got. And you know how hard okra is to pick? It's the most dirtiest stuff. It'll eat you alive. It'll get all over you. You just
hurting your fingers and everything.
Yes, it'll cause your fingers to bleed and everything. You got to wear gloves, and of course it's hot. You know, and okra's kind of like cows.
You already know cotton?
Okra's kind of like cows. Cows, you got to get out and milk them. It don't matter if it's winter, summer, or rain or snow. You got to milk cows. It's the same way with okra. You got to pick that stuff every other day. If you don't, it won't be worth harvesting.
Did I ever tell you? You ever tell you about this little fella years ago? And he was sitting in the milk barn helping Daddy milk. They played the radio early in the morning, and there was a radio spot there in the morning that advertised pet milk in a can. And they'd have nice music, and them old cows, you know, and they'd listen. Anyway, they had a.
You think it made the cows produce more milk?
Yeah, play that easy music. But anyway,
It relaxed them?
they had they said we're going to have a jingle contest.
A jingle contest.
And you write a jingle why you like pet milk in a can so much, and then you tell why, but you had to be about like 25 words or less. They didn't want it too long.
Sure.
So this little boy said, Dad, I think I can win that contest. He said, so they give him mail it. He wrote his little thing down.
Right.
Put it out.
Got you?
When they got the radio, they looked at it, they loved it so much, they had a brainstorm. They said, we're going to go out there with a recording bunch, and we're going to let this little fella say his jingle on the radio with cows mooing and the milking machine
I'll be darned.
going. And buddy, so when they got there and they got set up, the man running the machine said,
Do you remember the words of the jingle?
he said, look, just tell it like you was telling
Was
me.
you that little boy? Huh?
Just
Was you that little boy?
look, just tell like you was telling your mom or your daddy you jingle.
Okay.
He said, well, folks, the reason I love pet milk in a can so much is there's no tits to twitch, no shit to pitch. You just poke a hole in the son of a bitch.
Did you come up with that?
No, that's old, buddy.
That
was back from when my daddy and them milked cows out here at, right out here off Hines Road. SP White & Sons registered Jersey cattle.
I'll be darned.
But no, it's just a damn joke.
I understand.
See,
you was the one that told me about the sheep.
Sheep's defeat.
The sheep's defeat down there down there on Beach Ridge whenever it come a big flood down there.
Yeah, that's 37 probably. Because that's when they flooded everything. Hell,
Of course, you wasn't born then.
No.
Your daddy probably told you about it.
Well, yeah.
But that was also...
my daddy, let's see, was born in 19. So 37.
Maybe.
That would have been about the time I think he might have graduated a little late from high school.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But no, hell.
They used to
They housed refugees out here at the university.
They do.
They did. When that flood came, they had these old Quonset huts.
Uh-huh.
And there's a bunch of them come up here and lived in them. And one Sunday morning, before they had UT police,
Right.
they had like 2 Martin police.
Right, I remember those days.
And
I remember part of it.
they called one of them and said, hey, y'all got to get out here to school. Said, there's somebody shooting out here. It's real early. He said, well, I'll be right on out there. Old boy parked his car, and just about the time he got out of his car, boom. What the heck?
What's wrong with that? As long as he wasn't shooting nobody. He wasn't shooting nobody, right?
Look at here.
Of course, you're in the city limits. They probably got city ordinances, Martin, towards not shooting a gun.
This is when that flood was going on.
Okay.
And he walked out there, and about the time he got out there in that what they call the quadrangle, where them big old trees at.
Yeah.
Here, pum. He looked. So this old boy was leaned up against one of these trees, had a single barrel shotgun.
Shooting at rabbits. I mean squirrel.
He walked over and said, hey, buddy, what do you think you're doing? He had him a pile of squirrels. He said, hell, there's more squirrels here than it is in the Lake Hills. Like it was nothing.
And him up here in Martin city limits. Was that school property at that time?
Yeah. But it wasn't called UTM, man. It was called something hell, it's a Freeman, not Freeman, but when 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 they first got game wardens, the county would appoint a man, but he had a set of rules dictated by the state that he had to go by, that he was supposed to enforce. And before that happened,
It was basically wide open, wasn't it?
there wasn't no
In other words, you could shoot all the ducks you wanted. If you shoot 100 ducks that day, you shot 100 ducks that day. And if you shot 100 rabbit or 100 squirrel, you come out of the woods with 100 rabbits. Like you said, there wasn't no limit. There wasn't no control quality about it back then. Of course, back then, didn't near the people have the artillery that they have today.
Yeah.
You know, a one-shot muzzle loader, and you was lucky if you did wind up coming back with a basket full of squirrel or a basket full of whatever.
And out here past Campground River Bottom,
Yeah.
there's an old boy lived back in there on the bluff. His name was Maiden Jones. I knew the man. And his wife was Bessie Jones. And down there underneath that bluff, there was a spring hole. He made a little white whiskey.
They claim it making moonshine, that's the quality of it, is you got to have good water.
Well, anyway, all of a sudden, they had enacted hunting seasons. Well, this old boy, he go to the river bottom, go squirrel hunting all the time. It didn't make that. He wanted to mess squirrels. He go, well, it was okay.
Right.
Well, somebody
He
told him.
didn't abide by the new rules.
He hadn't heard the darn rules.
Right.
So somebody down that way
Turn him in.
turned him in. And the man's name was Fuqua, the new game warden. So,
You know, their job really is a dangerous job, because whenever you're out here in the middle of the bottom somewhere, they could shoot you. They could shoot you and take your body and throw it off in Obion River, or throw it down there in a Mississippi River, and wouldn't nobody know the difference. It's really a dangerous job. I'm pretty sure today they probably have some sort of GPS system, and they probably got a way that they can stay in contact with their headquarters.
fine you.
Yeah. And they got a way of being able to find them some way or another. I don't know if they got a chip in them, or maybe they just wearing the right kind of equipment, but I guarantee you they got protection. They got protection outfits on them now to where they didn't have years ago.
So he went out there. So he walked up on the front porch, knocked on the door. Old Miss Bessie Jones, she come to the door, said, "Yes, sir, can I help you?" Says, "Is your husband home?" He said, "No, he's in the bottom squirrel hunting."
Right.
And the law was closed, of course.
Right.
And just about that time, boom, he touched one off down there.
So they
Well, I'm the new game warden, and he's down there. You'll have to go find him.
He's in violation. I imagine that
So
cost
when
him.
he got down
That
there,
cost him an arm and a leg, I'm sure.
no, when he got down to the bottom of the hill, old Maiden Jones, he shot one off again, so he was pretty close.
Right.
And this old boy said, "Hey, Maiden Jones, where you at?" Said old Maiden peeked around this tree at him and says, leaned back, said, "I'm right down here." He says, "What do you want?" Because he didn't know if he was a revenue or what. He said, "You're not supposed to be in the bottom shooting squirrels. There's a season now, and the season is closed." Maiden just leaned out around the tree like that. Shot him. Man had a heavy canvas coat on, and he was far enough, but it did push him off his feet.
Really?
And he got up, Maiden was peeking at him. He said, "Are you all right?" I said, "Well, about halfway." He said, "Well, if you think you can walk back up that hill the way you come down, the best advice I have for you is to leave here and never come back." He left there and he never came back. He went to town and reported it, and didn't nobody else go back out there. But if he'd have been hurt, they'd probably put him in jail.
Well, you know, I've done a lot of research, a lot of investigating work up here just north of us in Kentucky. And between the first flooding, which I guess occurred somewhere around right before World War II.
Yeah, 37.
I think so, something like that. You know, it pushed all those people inland They lost a lot of property. Matter of fact, there was a town or two that they lost up there. Churches, they had to move churches. They had to move everything. I mean, it was a colony of people that lived up there. But I got to investigating towards talking to a lot of people, and they told me, and basically all of them had the same story, that there was a time between the 20s, 30s, leading up into about the 70s, that it wasn't nothing for the state of Kentucky to lose 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 different revenuers a year because there was so much moonshining going on up there.
Stewart County up in Kentucky, up in LBL.
Yes, LBL
That
area.
was a beggar where they made a lot of whiskey.
I mean, they must have had a heck of a business. I figure they was probably taking a bunch of it to Indianapolis, Indiana, and they was probably taking a bunch of it to Chicago. You know, this was right after the Prohibition days, and a lot of people was being beat out of basically their livelihoods because that was the way that they was making their living, by selling freaking moonshine, you know. And all of a sudden the government come down, and they told me that it wasn't nothing for the state of Kentucky to lose a revenuer just about every year because they would walk up onto a still, and that was it. That's all it took. Well, did you know that over in East Kentucky today, it's almost the same way, but now it's pertaining to marijuana crops?
Yeah. Look, it's been later on than that, because I worked with a boy at Goodyear.
If you go up there asking too many questions to too many people up there, you liable not come back.
And he lived
If they don't like you, they'll get rid of you one way or the other.
And he lived around Mayfield.
Okay.
And this was back, but just about, he about my age. He said, when I was in high school, he said, I'd worked myself to death. And I had me a 63 Chevrolet Super Sport Impala. It's pretty fast. I was proud as punch.
Oh, them was fast cars.
He said, I was down there at Mayfield climbing around one Saturday afternoon. And this guy walked up.
Mayfield where the tornado hit?
This guy walked up to me and said, hey, that's a pretty nice looking car you got. He said, yeah, it's a pretty nice car, but it costs a lot to keep that nice car up. He said, well, that's what I want to talk to you about. Would you like to make a little money? He said, mister, I'm always in the mood to make a little money. He said, let me tell you what I'm going to do. He said, we're going to take your car and we're going to put a spare tank in it. We're going to boost the springs in the back of it where it's still ride level.
Where it don't look like it's under a load.
He said, Saturday morning, you got to get up kind of early. Says, you come to this service station right here.
And we'll fill you up.
You pull inside
And we
drop the door.
And we ain't talking about no full throttle
No.
moonshine, a 90 to 110 proof. We're talking about the real deal of 200 plus proof.
And he said, what we're going to do is fill that thing up full of white liquor. Now, all you got to do is drive it to Memphis, Tennessee, to a certain gas station. And you'll pull it in a bay, just like you pull in here. They shut the door, they pump her off.
Pull the cord.
And the man pays you cash money.
You come back home.
He said, I've already got my money, but he pays you once you get there with it.
Providing that you make it.
Yeah.
You got to make it. If you don't make it down there.
He says, you got to take it easy.
Yeah.
He said, I did that for several years there.
Really?
125 a week back in was real money.
Oh, yes. Lord, yes.
But he said, I didn't know who made it. I didn't really know them people down there that bought it. He said, there's very little talk went on. I pulled it in there. I went out on the curb, smoked a cigarette. In a minute, the door come open. That guy said, hey, your car's ready, just like he'd done some work to it.
All right. Do you know where Grand Rivers, Kentucky is?
Yeah.
Up there where the sailboat marina and all that is? There's quite a bit of money up there. You know that, don't you?
Oh, there's a lot of old moldy ass money up there around.
Uh-huh.
You can't hide it.
No.
That bay's full of it.
Oh, yeah. But you know, that's probably part of the prettiest part of the Tennessee River other than Pickwick. Pickwick to me is the prettiest.
Yeah.
Pickwick is the prettiest. But this is the point that I'm trying to make is this. I know the guy up there that used to have a nightclub, Pickles, in Paducah. He got sued because somebody drunk too much. But he had an iron kettle and he had patties up there. I know him very well. Been knowing him now for 30-something years. Mm-hmm. He come from California. He's a gay guy. But Patty, iron kettle burnt, and then it wasn't too many years after that till Patty's burnt, iron kettle burnt, and then he rebuilt another restaurant up there now that's worth a lot of money. That's a whole lot more nicer. Mm-hmm. Have you been up there yet?
That bar and grill across from Patty's over?
Yeah, he owns that too.
Yeah.
But have you been up there since he built that new building up there? At Grand
new
Rivers?
Patty's or that new bar and grill? They're both new now. Yeah, I've been in there. Matter of fact, I tried some of their white whiskey.
No, I ain't talking about whiskey now. You're getting off the beaten path here. The point that I'm trying to make is this. He set aside one particular room. I guess it was probably a 40 by 60. That's called the President's Suite. And he got lucky. He had a friend that was a collector and had all genuine president stuff going all the way back to the Civil War era and before.
Really?
Yes. And he's got this thing loaded on all the walls of all the different presidents. I think he gave about 40 grand for this.
What's that name of that place?
Patty's.
Well, yeah, I've been in there since they rebuilt it.
Since they built the new one.
Yeah. Since the other one burned.
Okay, since the other one burned. Anyways.
But they also own a brand new fancy bar and grill across the street from Patty's.
Well, it ain't brand new.
Yeah.
I think he went in there and redone the bar and all that, redone the wood and all the modeling and stuff. But anyways, I got to asking some questions. I go, well, what do you figure the value of all these documents and all these pictures are worth? He said they're worth every bit of twice as much, if not 3 times as much, of what I gave for it. Well, in my investigating up there, because you keep in mind, I literally lived in LBL, and if I counted up all the days and nights that I have stayed living primitive or in campers in LBL, I guarantee you it would exceed well over a year. Yeah. If you was to add all the days up, day after day, it would be well over a year that I've lived in the primitive. So while I was investigating, and I don't know if you've ever heard this or not, but a lot of them said the reason why JFK got assassinated was because in 1963, he flew over that little peninsula and was with, I guess, Bobby, his brother, and 2 or 3 others, and they decided that they was going to declare that piece of property as it being a total loss. And this was after they'd already got pushed out of the first flood, and then they got pushed out of the second flood pertaining to the dam being flooded on the Cumberland side. So you had a lot of people that was really upset because they had to keep moving inland again and again and again. 8 years here, another 10 years over here. And now all of a sudden, here comes Kennedy come over there and says, I want y'all to leave. Every one of you go. We're going to declare this as a hunting wildlife refuge. And by law, under the, progress law, under that law, we're going to make you leave. It has been said that the moonshining industry in LBL was so strong, working through not only Indianapolis, Indiana, but Chicago, Illinois, that somebody with enough power, with enough money, put the word out, we want him dead. And that's what costed JFK his life, is that the mob put out a hit on him.
Well,
And the
now, I
reason
can
why
believe
they
that
put a hit on him
because,
was because it affected so
they
many
was,
people's lives up there. It wasn't just over the moonshining industry. It was over so
That's
many
'cause it-
people's lives that got destroyed up there because they had a whole freaking community up there, man. They done already got pushed around over here. They done got pushed around over here, and they was tired of getting pushed around. Now all of a sudden you gonna tell me I gotta leave? You telling me I gotta go?
and
Completely go?
J. Edgar Hoover, they give that bastard too much power.
Yes, they
to the
did.
FBI. And one of the reasons they did, because they was all scared the hell out of it. They was scared of that son of a bitch. And, now look, them old Kennedy boys, they passed old Marilyn Monroe around like she was a wet rag.
Oh, you know that for a fact.
And look,
yeah.
all of a sudden they wake up to the fact that, son of a bitch, Marilyn Monroe's a real communist. And we've been fooling around this whole.
Wow.
And all of a sudden,
Well,
you look,
she wound up mysteriously dying in a tub or something, didn't she? Slipped and fell and
who all
drowned in the
showed
tub
up?
or something like
Frank
that.
Sinatra and one of the Kennedys, that halfway movie star that was a brother-in-law to him, or what's his name, was the first two on the scene.
Probably.
Wasn't that a hell of a deal?
Well,
No, I have actually seen a film with Marilyn Monroe sat with a bunch in Cuba and old Castro sitting right there.
Well, you know, they claim that they got pictures of Clinton, Bill Clinton, wearing skirts, being on that same little island of that guy that put him in jail, and they claim he hung himself. And I think he didn't hang himself. I like me and about halfway other believe that because all the cameras didn't work that day. All the security systems didn't work. Now they've arrested that woman. What's her name?
Yeah, she's in jail now.
She's tied in there with them. It's just a matter of time before.
She was a procure. She arranged all this shit for me.
It's just a matter of time before she's going to wind up dying mysteriously too. We watch and see.
That old Prince Andrew, he dirty as hell in it too.
But they said that Bill Clinton, they named off a slew of freaking names like you wouldn't believe it. The people that went over there and had sexual intercourse with 12 and 13, 14-year-old little Asian girls.
Yeah.
But Bobby Kennedy's what got JFK killed, because it was rum, the moonshining industry, that basically put them on the map, becoming as powerful as they did up there at New York.
Prohibition.
Oh, during the Prohibition era.
Runners.
Yeah. And then they're gonna come down here and they're gonna tell everybody, you got to close up shop. We ain't gonna put up with it. You know, it's kind of like I think that Walking Tall got the raw end of the deal, because the people of the state of Tennessee, all that gambling stuff all over there in Savannah got so outrageous, and people whoring around and red light district and making moonshine and stuff, and it affected their decisions towards being a gentle, civilized society. So they hired somebody like Buford Pusser to go in there and straighten it out. The only problem was, they told Buford, now you've gone far enough. Don't go no further. We don't want you to get involved in, don't affect our business, because we're making money here too, right? Well, that's whenever he said, "To hell with y'all. Y'all hired me to do a job, and I'm gonna do it." And that's what costed him his life, because it come from that governor up there in Middle Tennessee, Davidson County, that basically put a hit out on him. And I truly believe that they loosened the ball joint on that lower control arm intentionally, so that he would lose control of that vehicle.
Snap around.
Yep. They killed, what did they kill before that? His dog, and didn't they kill his wife or something like that before that? Huh?
Yeah.
What county was that in? Lauderdale County? No.
Oh, no.
No, that's McNair County.
McNair County.
McNair County down in there.
The other, up toward the Tennessee River, not over toward the Mississippi River.
Right, Tennessee River. I said the wrong river. But I also know this. You know where Tina Turner's from?
Yeah. Go through there last weekend.
Really? What county is that?
Well, it ain't Shelby. It's what, Chester County or McNair? Up our way.
I think it's
Fayette?
Fayette County, because you got about 3 counties that merged right up in that area. But listen, I've been around people up in that area. You get to talking around, kind of like me and you talking right now. Sit around a restaurant, kill 2 or 3 hours, and I've been up there, and I've actually found out that the mastermind of the one that killed
Yeah.
Kennedy, I mean not Kennedy, but Martin Luther King. That's where the seed got planted, was right there in that county. That we're gonna do away with this joker right here, and somebody really and truly done it. That was a political move that they was gonna put him out because they was scared of Martin. They was scared of him because there was too much money to be lost. You know what I'm saying? Because at that time, the European white man, he was in control of the black man. He wasn't going to let the black man have the right. That's kind of like Lincoln. Lincoln didn't get killed because Lincoln freed the slaves. Lincoln got killed because he told everybody they should have the same right to vote as everybody else. And whenever he went over that line, that's what costed him his life.
You know,
it's got to do with greed. It's got to do with money. You know what I'm saying? Money. Money costs people's lives, brother.
There's a young black guy walked up and had a big X on his hat right here. Hey, man, what's that X stand for? Oh, that stands for Malcolm X. Said he did a lot for the black folks. I said, well, what'd he do?
He did. He did up there in Harlem and up there in...
This sucker didn't know nothing about history. And it stumbled him. Oh, he did great things for the black. And finally, I said, I think you'd be better suited with a hat that said LBJ. He didn't even know who Lyndon Baines Johnson damn was. Lincoln might have given him freedom, but LBJ put his name to the thing that made it so. The Civil Rights Act.
That's right, over the states' rights. But at the same time, it was Lincoln that had a sigh of relief after that was signed. It's finally over, ain't it? And then about 72 hours later, he was dead. He was dead. Got to do with money, man. Money, greed, you know? And this stuff going on right now with the COVID and all this high dollar stuff, gas going up and inflation going up. You know, I remember going through the Carter era because we was at that time farming about 500 acres. And I remember Daddy could get his fuel at co-op at that time for about 27 cents a gallon. Sure. The only problem was it had that red dye in it. And the reason why they had that red dye is because you wasn't supposed to drive a vehicle with it.
Pickup truck.
Right. Well, whenever fuel went from 27 cents to about 70 cents or 67 cents a gallon, that's whenever the strain hit during that time. And that's whenever interest went way up. And that's whenever all these mama papa businesses, it didn't matter if they was retail, it didn't matter if they was little farmers. That's whenever they started dropping like flies. That's exactly what's going to happen again. Because whenever people start losing everything that they've ever tried to gain, it's like the 1929 Depression. You know who come out on top of the 1929 Depression? Those that already had a pocket full of change. They could go down there at the courthouse and bid on a piece of property and get it for pennies on a damn dollar. Those that already had money could make money off of their money during the time that people lost everything that they've ever. Well, the exact same thing's fixing to happen again. You watch and see. It's going to happen again. It happened during the early 80s, 70s and 80s. It happened then, and it's fixing to happen again.
There was a man.
The rich getting richer.
That run the City State Bank here with Ben. Well, anyway, like I said, SP White and Sons registered Jersey cattle. Well, two of the uncles of mine had gone to war. My daddy had been 4F.
What war? What war?
WW2.
Okay.
And they'd all come back home. Well, hell, the old man was still farming. Well, then none of them will farm. And they had like 60 acres.
Right. Had a red belly for it, probably.
Being black. That man's name might have been. But anyway, they said we was all sitting down on the front porch one afternoon after we milked the cattle. They said old Ben pulled up in his old car and got out. Told the old man my granddad was purse white. He said, "Hey, Purse, you ever thought what you'd take for this place?" He said, "I ain't thought about it." He said, I'll tell you what to do. You think about it, and about this time next week I'll come back by. Well, Daddy said, hell, we forgot all about it. So the old man came back by. Hey, Purse, you thought about what you take for his place?
Well, that's the same thing happened at that country store up there. Somebody walked in there one day and asked them what they'd take for the place, and the guy shot him a price, the way I understand it, and about a week later he come back and said, well, let's do the deal.
And
of course, since then, tornado hit it. I don't know if he had good insurance. I don't know if they're going to build it back.
Rebuild it.
Are they?
Anyway, the old man said, you know what, man? I have thought about it. And he thought he'd pop him off a figure and just put him off.
To blow him away.
He said,
blow
I
him
paid
off.
$20,000 for it. So this son of a bitch went back into that old car, goddamn satchel bag out, come up there and started counting money on the porch.
I'll be darned.
So, right down here by the old Yellow Fever District Cemetery, you know there's an old house. Oh boy, you sell fishing worms there. Right there. Had worms.
Seems like it, yeah.
And well, person then moved in there. Well, he went into the house moving business of all things.
After he got that money.
After he got that damn money. And then.
So he started making money with that money. And that's how you make money. You make money with money. So if you got the opportunity during the time of a crisis, of a downfall, they done the same thing during the Civil War. Don't think for a second that there wasn't people that
did all that.
Well, don't think for a second it wasn't just the carpetbaggers, but don't think for a second that people didn't get beat out of a lot of damn property and a lot of damn rights back then, because they did.
And then, like if you're going up McGill Street, and all you know, that's a little subdivision on Crestview up there where them little brick houses, all that.
Yeah.
All right. My granddaddy bought a farm there that went from there over to old man Wood's place and went all the way to Power Line in there behind the 22 Club.
Okay.
So, my uncle went right to end of McGill there on Meat, and he took part of it.
Okay.
And if you'll go, you know where the big house is on the corner of Todd and McGill, where Dr. Hines lives. Nice old house.
Seems like I do.
All right. You just go right around that corner, and right next door to Dr. Hines, there's a white house. It's got a for sale sign in the yard. That house got there years ago. My granddaddy and my uncles had a just like a little book like this right here is catalog. It's a place in Mississippi, and you go through there and you go, oh, I like this house right here, and I like the plan that's right here. And you would order the timber they would send enough on a flatbed, one flatbed. My old man said they got there, they tilted this thing up, put poles under it, just drove out from under it, and said, now boys, there's enough wood right here to build this house that y'all want to build. Well, Purse was halfway a carpenter, and I had an Uncle Ewan that was a pretty decent
But the
carpenter.
bottom line is this: the wealthy people always come out on top whenever something like this occurs. I know for a fact, whenever that tornado come up through Kenton, back about 3 months ago, right before Christmas, nice house, nice driveway, probably had good insurance, settled with them, somebody come along and bought the property. Well, they's moving everything out just day before yesterday, so I pull up there and start talking to them because there's a for sale sign on the front of it. I go, are y'all selling this place now? They go, no, we done sold it. I go, well, what's this for sale sign about? They go, the person that bought it from us put it immediately right back on the market again and jacked it up $100,000.
Well, that's what I was going to tell you. That house, when my granddaddy built, Carl Savage used to be mayor of Martin that owned a screw company.
Who was he?
Carl Savage.
I don't think I knew him. When did he leave office?
Oh, way back.
I don't think I
But
knew
he
them.
owned Leland Powell Screw
Okay.
Company one
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
And before that, he was a professor out of college.
Okay.
But anyway, him and his wife are both dead, and he had a dog that was in real estate, got killed over here at Rudd's Crossing one time in a car wreck. Young gal, single.
I don't remember that. That
She
must
was
have
in-
been
she's
before
in the
my
back
time.
Seat of a no, she's in that long ago, suburban car, and somebody run across in front of her or whatever, and she got flung out and killed. That was legal. No, that's one still living.
I don't remember that.
Well, anyway, they went in that little. It ain't a very big house. They went in there after the people died. She had it candy coated, revamped, and all that. They want $495,000 for that house. And I asked my wife, I said, does Dr. Hines' house go with it? That's ridiculous.
So this is my point. This is my point that I'm trying to make, Sammy. Because of the powerful and the corrupt has become so powerful, the middleman and the little man, there ain't no way for them to compete. Isn't our government right now fundamentally being run the same way as it was being run during the Civil War pertaining to the syndicate? Because it was the syndicate that hurt my two cousins up in Liberty, Missouri, that burnt their house and killed their mother, Jesse James. It was the syndicate that had a part of that because they wouldn't sell the property and they wanted the Illinois Railroad Service to come through there. So is it not gotten even that much more wickeder and that much more corrupt towards?
Well,
I mean, they claim that they're performing open elections. Pollen, man, pollen's bad. Anyways, they claim that they're performing these elections, but in a way, isn't it kind of being done underhandedly towards the powerful or the rich, taking care of the rich? Sure it is. Sure it is. That's just like that Coble guy down there in Sidonia running for sheriff. He didn't have a snowball chance in hell. You know why? Because he didn't get the proper backing. You get some of these rich farmers around here and some of these Masons to get on your side, he could have become sheriff.
Well, it's just like the time Mike Wilson, the time before this time, he said somebody's going to retire. So David Moore, the ex-chief of police,
He run against him. And he come within 300.
Real close. But
300 points. Or 300 votes.
Ham Brown was county executive up there. He was from down here at Martin.
Okay.
He was over by the Methodist Church campaigning. Well, that's where I voted at.
Okay.
I walked up there. I said, well, Brother Ham, you getting ready to be in office again? He said, no. I said, you're out here politicking for that office, aren't you? You're an incumbent, aren't you? He said, yeah. I said, well, what seems to be the problem? He said, well, I'll tell you. He said, now, son, you mark my words. Kelly Kellerbrew from up Dresden is running for my office, and he's going to win it. He said, the people at Dresden are going to stick together. We don't stick together down here.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people I know.
See what I'm saying? The
See,
powerful and the rich, they stand with one another. It doesn't matter if they like them or not. If it's got to do with the money people, they're going to stand together with the money people.
That, and Dave, I said, I told him later, I said, there was probably people that you shook hands with, not that day, but up because he campaigned, that said they was going to vote and they didn't go vote. He said, oh, I know that. Hell, we're supposed to have the largest registered voter turnout at that church of any polling place in the county. That's the largest registered vote. He said, then a third of them turned out to vote. He said, here I am.
How come David Moore didn't run this time for sheriff? Knowing that Mike Wilson was no longer going to run, that Mike Wilson done already got 9 terms, and Mike Wilson was throwing his hat out of the ring. How come Mike Moore didn't? You know why? Because it's all about money. In other words, he can make more money now being up here in Martin, making the money that he's making off of that.
Nassar? He ain't working for Nassar no more. I don't know where he went. He was out here at UTM teaching classes, but I don't think he's doing that anymore. His folks live right across the street from me, and well.
Do you know David very well?
I know him.
You know him really well?
That
Well, he got a thorn in his side with me, and I guess it was because of something that I done years and years ago whenever I was about 20 years old. Because I remember as a teenager, we used to have parties at different houses around here, and shit, about half of them that's now working in the law enforcement system now, I've either gotten high with them or danced with them down there at Maggie Lee's, drinking with them. You know what I'm saying? About half of them, and him being one of them, and Mike Wilson too. Before Mike Wilson become deputy, even before he ever become deputy, he'd go out there at Cowboy place out there, and we'd see him out there drinking beer and stuff. You know Tony Coleman? Yeah, Tony Coleman used to have some big parties out there, man, in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
When the road would come down.
What is that, the Old Troy Road?
Yeah, Old Troy Road. I know exactly.
Yeah, there used to be, it was nothing on the weekend. Go over there and it'd be 300 or 400 people. Have a big bonfire. And that's where I had the opportunity of meeting Mike for the first time. I didn't know his brother was running Cadillacs over here. But he got a thorn in his side to the point that he told my cousin, I don't know if you know him or not, Jeff Jackson, up in Union City, Obion County, works for the TV, state boy, works for the TBI.
Yeah.
He told him that if Juby thinks that his life has been miserable because of Mike Wilson, he ain't seen nothing yet. Let me become sheriff. And that was the year that he run, and he lost within about 300 points.
Yeah, I know.
So if somebody is that biased against you, what have they got against me? Other than me doing something as a teenager that I regretted doing all my life. And I ain't gonna lie to you what that was. I stole a gun from the police department up here in Martin. Somebody
Did they just leave the damn thing laying out?
Somebody pulled up there and the car was running and the window was down, and I just politely reached in there and grabbed the gun and walked off with it. I stole the gun.
Temptation got a hold of it.
Well, I was all drugged up, messed up. I was trying to recover from my accident, and I was all pilled up and stuff. Didn't know what I was doing, and I just done it just for the giggles of it, just because I didn't need a gun. Anyway, Sonny Davis, you probably remember him, Captain Hook, that had the hooks, had his arms burned off. That was my cousin down there in Sidonia High Pen. Everybody called him Sonny. His name was Gary Davis. He come up down there.
That's okay. Wait a minute.
That's my first cousin, Sonny.
Who was the Davis boy? Charlie Davis. Did you know Charlie Davis that lived down there? His family farmed and picked cotton.
Yeah.
I worked with him out at Miller, and I was trying the whole time to think of his name, Charlie Davis.
Really? Okay. There used to be some Davises that lived down there on Beach Ridge Bottom down there.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, down there. But anyway, Sonny come up there. He said, look, they know one of y'all got the gun. He was talking to about 8 of us. He said, the deal is whoever got it, if you'll let the gun come back to me, there'll not be another word said about it. You won't have to worry about no charges or none of the above. And I thought to myself, well, I probably need to do the right thing because I done the wrong thing. So I went into the house and I grabbed up the 12 gauge Ethica. At the time it was the Ethica. You remember those guns?
Yeah.
Nice little, sweet little 12 gauge shooting guns.
Yeah.
And I handed it back to him. I said, take it back to him. And I never heard a word. But
they knew who done it.
Planted a seed And these begrudging people around here hold your feet to the fire to the point if you've ever done anything against them, to the point that they think that you got over on them, they'll hold it against you the rest of your freaking life.
Well, another thing too, he wasn't supposed to leave that gun unattended in a car that was unlocked or the window down.
Exactly. So it was just as much the deputy's fault as it was me that got the gun to begin with. But within that same time period, you remember Tony Harrison? He's dead now.
Yeah, Tony's been right in here.
Another deputy going out of Dresden at that Huck store had the vehicle running. It was in the wintertime. Tony said, watch here. He gets out of the truck. He was a passenger with somebody. Goes in the police car, gets in the police car, and drives it all the way through town, and goes all the way to almost all the way to Fulton, and pulls over on the side of the road and leaves it. All son, whenever they found out who done that, they was hot under the collar. But you know, at one time we used to have a very, very illegitimate police department here.
Oh, yeah.
Very illegitimate, to the point that if you had any money, if your mom and daddy had any money, they could buy you out of just about anything, son. It didn't matter if it was drugs. It didn't matter if it was guns. A matter of fact, I've probably seen as many as 50 guns down there in Sonny Davis's house, and about 12 different deputies that was down there working the syndicate underground movement. The syndicate has taken America over because there's more money to be made under the table than it is above the table now. And that's the reason why they call it organized crime. If you're not a criminal towards an extortionist, you probably ain't gonna make a dime. You're probably gonna go broke.